and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have full board tonight. Monique is on the phone. Welcome, everyone. So, we had a chance to see this agenda. Is there any additions to the agenda? Hearing none, we need to approve of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a second? Second. Motion second, any discussion? Submit your vote.
Yeah. Yes.
Yay. So mine, she can do it on her.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Motion carries seven.
Yeah, quick. But a quick class.
Item number 3.
Okay, we're at item 3. Concerns of Burlington USD 244 patrons. Do we have anybody? Okay. Moving right along. Communications. So you all got to see the thank you note. Very nice. And
I don't have any additions to this report. Any questions for me?
any question for Darla?
The block 2, block 2, so what's the difference between block 2?
So block 2 is like it's a mix between like being out on the campus and still taking coursework. They have a blended schedule. So they're in our buildings about 3 days a week. And then when you're block 3, you're full-time student
Okay.
teaching.
I knew there was
Yeah.
Yeah.
a prior, or wait, I just
Yeah.
was forgot which one that was.
Yeah, so I'm really excited by
Yeah, 5, so
So,
that's cool. Very good. Get your folks in.
That's
We took the student teachers out for lunch Friday. It was the ones that were here with us in block, were they all block 2?
That's block 2.
Block 2, not student teaching, I'm sorry. So we,
This happens every Friday.
we made sure they had to go back and tell great things in Emporia State about Burlington for
There you
their,
go.
for their friends. So they took us to
And
lunch.
honestly, like one of our interns that we had last year, when we were at the Emporia State Day, she's like, I told all my girls that are still in program, like, it's worth the drive out to Burlington. So I think they do have a good experience here, and it's just good PR for us.
Yes.
Hopefully that helps with the last bullet though.
Okay, any other question for Darla? Hearing none, move on. Spring, you think you can top that?
No, I don't have anything to add this time.
We had one block 2, this last year. She did a really good job, so I told her to pay attention and go online and apply for any open positions, because she really enjoyed her time here.
Good. There you go. You're up next.
Okay, well, I apologize because those other two took about 30 seconds. If you read mine, I had some items at the very bottom that I wanted to go over with everybody, so I got a few things to go over right here, so I knew I was gonna be that guy tonight that took everybody's time, so if you look on the
stick with Kevin also.
So, going through this semester and looking at our schedule and the classes we had to offer, really what kickstarted all of these was, obviously we're aware that we had a teacher we had to move on from middle of October, and financial literacy is a course that is taught in our school. It is a required class. So right now we require that class to sophomores as a requirement. As someone that's taught this class for over a decade and researched and examined when this class is taught, talking with our counselors, communicating with our potential new business teacher, and other principals that I'm familiar with, I think it's important that this class be moved to a senior level class. The best way I could explain it would be, we wouldn't want kids taking a college algebra or a calculus class as a sophomore in high school. There's a lot of things in this class, financial literacy, that in my opinion sophomores won't be able to retain when they go into the real world. They're 2 years removed from it. And there's a lot of things in this class that sophomores just aren't ready to take based off just life experiences. Not to get too deep into it, but in my opinion, it's hard to teach a sophomore about health insurance and researching cars when they don't have a driver's license, they don't have jobs. It's just, in my opinion, it's a class that we need to have required, but it needs to be taught at an upper level, not to sophomores. Communicated that with our counselors and have a plan in place to how that would potentially change our schedule, because it would impact our schedule quite a bit to move that to our upper level kids. So I put some reasonings on there why I think that's pretty important. And then it just creates more flexibility in our sophomore schedule beginning next year. Create an opportunity for financial literacy prerequisite that will additionally increase enrollment in our business types courses, which has been a concern in the last couple of years. And then it creates a secondary opportunity for additional elective opportunities for freshmen moving forward, which I'm going to outline those next ones, second and third. So is there any questions on that first one? I know there's
A couple. First of all, just in general, how long has this class been a requirement?
in our school.
Yeah.
As far back as I can go, it's been 7 years since the
Okay.
state made it a mandate.
Okay.
But I don't know why it's been at the sophomore level.
That was my follow-up.
So
to that.
I haven't gotten that answer.
Okay.
And it's not that, I didn't look real hard for that answer, but if you look around the state and you see when this class is taught, tradition, and myself included, who taught the class for over a decade, I never once taught it to a sophomore.
Okay.
And the reasoning for it is that sophomores are just not ready for this content. Because traditionally, you want these kids to learn how to fill out a resume, how to file taxes, how to research car life skills. You want them to learn that right before they graduate high school. And teaching this to sophomores, they're either not equipped for it or they're not going to retain a lot of that when they graduate. So that's always been the thought process of why it's an upper level class, and it's a required class.
Okay, the other question that I would ask is, I know as juniors and seniors, they can go off to Allen County, Coffee County, places like, not Coffee County, sorry, Flint Hills, places like that.
Yeah.
If we're adding an extra required class to their senior year, are those individuals still gonna be able to go half the day somewhere else and then come back and knock out this plus their other required classes?
Yes,
they added?
that's been discussed with our counselors,
Okay.
and that is going to, it won't be an issue, and I'm going to go over that.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's fine. I'm going to go, really, the first one trickles down to all these next three. So
Okay.
really, that's the first one. If that goes through, the other two don't, perfectly fine, but this kind of kickstarts the other two.
Okay.
Is there any other questions on that first one? So the second one, Currently, at our school, we require interactive media as a graduation requirement. It's a freshman level class that they all take. And after doing research on this, so with the counselors and our business teachers, so essentially right now, our freshmen have the capabilities to pick one elective class in their schedule. They have the flexibility for one elective. By removing interactive media and moving a class to the sophomore year, that would allow the freshmen to have more elective choices in their schedule. And in our BLT meetings and talking with our counselors, we think that giving our freshmen more elective choices will decrease our discipline problems at the freshman level. Traditionally, freshman is the year where discipline problems happen the most. It would allow them to pick electives that they're more interested in. And currently, right now, they have less flexibility in their schedule than they do as an 8th grader. Your schedule is pretty much built in, right from the get-go. You have one elective, and that's just how it works. So communicating with our counselor and trying to figure out how we could replace this class. My recommendation is, and again, this has to go with our lack of business numbers and enrollment the last couple of years, changing the interactive media class to be a required class as a sophomore, but change it to a marketing class. So what would happen is our finance class would go to seniors, so it would open up another class for our sophomores to take. Our freshmen would not take interactive media. Our sophomores would take marketing, so we'd have three classes that would have more flexibility in their schedule. Funding for it would change because it's still a funded course. It's a year-long class. But more importantly, it would be essentially a prereq for 4 different pathways that we offer in our classes. So last week we had a CTE meeting, and we really talked about trying to increase our numbers in classes. We offer a lot of different options, but we don't have a lot of classes with a large number of people in them. So one of the prevailing thoughts was if we offer marketing as a required class as a sophomore, that would be a nice bridge before they take finance, and it would open up a pathway opportunity for 4 different pathways. So on here I put 3 different pathways. So the marketing class would be an introductory level class to 3 different pathways. Currently, right now, interactive media is an introductory level class for 1 pathway. So the hope would be having this class open, create more awareness to our kids to take classes in 3 different areas to help improve our numbers in our business classes, which is one of the goals we're trying to do because that's declined the last couple of years. And not only that, but it would go into 3 different pathways where teachers would, in 3 different content areas that could teach those. So we would replace interactive media as a 1-hour credit to sophomore year, 1-hour credit as marketing. It would open up another elective for our freshmen. Our sophomores would gain an elective by not having finance, so they wouldn't lose one. And then we would be taking a business class as a sophomore, then as a senior. Right now, they take interactive media as a freshman, they take finance as a sophomore, and then they're done. So marketing could be an opportunity for them to learn skills in a multitude of different things that could go into 3 different pathways, and they could take those skills and move them on into any of the classes that they're teaching. And we could still teach interactive media as a unit inside of the marketing class, so they wouldn't be losing those skills or that content whatsoever in that regard. So a lot of information there, so questions on that one?
It'd be the same teacher, we wouldn't be looking for another teacher to fill in this position?
No, so currently, right now, we lost the business teacher. I'm teaching finance next semester, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna convert, so we technically had 2 business teachers up until October. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put those 2 into 1 position next year, and then have them teach in the years to come, a finance and marketing, and then any of the classes that kids would be interested in. by opening up that marketing pathway, marketing as a class, that would open up 3 different pathways for us to potentially get interest in a multitude of classes. Right now, with interactive media, it's just one pathway, and essentially it's interactive media, and then the numbers right after that just kind of go by the wayside. So, not putting blame on anybody, it's just, it would give us an opportunity to offer, see what classes stick with kids, and have more opportunities in 3 different pathways for that. So, it would open up a class for our freshmen to take another elective, which is, to me, is another big opportunity for them when they come into high school to not say, here's your schedule, and you don't have a lot of freedom or flexibility in your schedule.
What's the interactive media, the entry-level class, what pathway?
So right now, that is in the digital pathway.
Okay.
So currently, our kids, right now, they take computer apps as an 8th grader, which could be potentially another discussion Mr. Spring and I have in a couple months that we bring. They take interactive media, and then you can take an audio visual or a game design, and then that's the completion. That's as far as most kids have gone. And then usually after interactive media, the numbers in that pathway go here quickly. So essentially, our business pathways is, for the majority of it, is that one, because of interactive media being a required class. If we move that to marketing, the marketing is in 3 different pathways, and then our kids, based off that, can go in 3 different directions. And then we can have our business teacher teach it, we can have our facts teacher teach it, depending on what the kids' interest level is, and hopefully get our numbers back up in the next couple of years, and then use that marketing class to also help our FBLA program as well, to use that as a marketing tool.
So are we losing that pathway by this class going away?
We wouldn't lose the pathway, we would still offer interactive media.
Okay.
The numbers obviously won't be as high because it's not a required class.
I understand that now.
So,
Okay, thank
yeah,
you.
it will definitely be offered.
The class is still there, it's just not a
Absolutely.
requirement. Okay, I wasn't picking that up before, you probably said it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the curriculum looks like for that, for interactive media, but just from the sound of it, it sounds like almost everybody would get some use out of interactive media, whereas just like a select few would get benefit out of principles of marketing
Are you talking
in
the
the
other way
future.
ar- are you
Like
talking-
whether they go to college, go
Are
into
you
the
talking the other way
military.
around, meaning more from marketing or more from interactive media?
Interactive media, it sounds like it's applicable, that would be applicable nearly to everyone's career. Like, not necessarily a pathway, but it sounds like it would be something that,
And that will still be taught inside of the marketing class as a unit. The purpose of doing that was to use marketing as a class to teach a wide range of different things between entrepreneurship, management, marketing, pre-finance, interactive media, giving them a little bit of knowledge on a multitude of different things.
Okay.
And then see where they want to run with that. Do I want to go in the pathway of finance? Do I want to go into the entrepreneurship? Do I want to go into management, sports marketing? Do I want to go into accounting? Do I want to do any of those classes, which are all brought up in a marketing type of class? Those areas aren't really talked about in interactive media per se as much. So the interactive media really focuses on one pathway. Marketing is an introductory type of class for 3 different pathways that could potentially land kids in a multitude of different classes. So, and then obviously giving some kids some more flexibility in their schedule as a freshman, to me, was a big one, because right now they have one elective opportunity.
So it sounds like what you're saying is as sophomores, when they don't really know what they want to do, this is allowing them to dip their toes into more different things as opposed to focus on one.
It's about as broad of a class as you could teach in this area and try to see what sticks. What area do they like? And then from there, they could pick any pathway they liked. And then that at least gives them a business class before they take it as a senior with finance. So essentially, right now in our school, our kids take interactive media and then finance. And then I would say 95% of them at that point are done with any type of business type classes at the end of their sophomore year, based off of our numbers. So,
Good.
Any more questions, or are you gonna do?
I got one more.
Yeah,
I got one more.
Yep.
So, this kind of piggybacked on what Bob brought up earlier. So, really trying to focus in on our positive behavior reward system for our kids. So the state requires a senior to be enrolled in 5 classes. After that, it's up to the discretion of the school how they want to handle the rest of the day. And researching how many of our kids, senior year, second semester, have an abundance of credits well beyond graduation requirements. We started diving into that and say, do our kids really need to be in 7 class periods as a senior? And the prevailing thought based off how many kids are graduating with an abundance of credits, how many kids we have working work study, Flint Hills Tech, internships, starting to collect this data. I've become more of a proponent of if our kids are doing things the right way and behaving and performing academically, to only have them be required to be at school or have the 5 graduation credits for graduation. So on that back page right there, I put on there what an example of a student's schedule would look like next year. So they would have their 2 required classes that they have to have to graduate. And then based off that, if they've met our requirements and they're in an internship or they're in Flint Hills Tech or they go get a job, those could be used as their graduation credits to graduate. And then once they hit their 5, they can continue to go work during the day, or once they've met their 5 hours, they're done for the day, as long as they're in good standing academically, behavioralized. And it's another way to promote our kids that have done the right thing. Here's your reward. You don't have to take an elective-based class as a senior that you don't necessarily need for any purpose other than you have to be here all day. And then what it says on 2029, if the financial literacy piece goes through, then they'd have to, since finance is a .5 class, their schedule would look a little bit different at that point. But we'd work this through with our counselors and see how this would work with them. And really the only thing that would change, we have kids at Flint Hills Tech already. We do job placement, we do internships, we do the work study. Really the only thing that would change is we'd have to develop documentation that would get proof that these kids are actually at a job and they are actually working 10 to 15 hours a week. And then if they were doing that, then they would get their credit for doing that. So I'm a big proponent of if the kids are doing things the right way, that instead of having in the class they don't necessarily need, and they can go work and actually make some money and, start preparing for adulthood if they've done everything that we believe they need to do. So just another thing to promote positive behavior and get our seniors as prepared for adulthood as possible, and not having them take some elective-based class that they don't need for graduation, other than they just have to be here all day long. So,
You have something,
questions on that?
you have something worked out as far as an eligibility type deal? If
Yeah.
there is a struggle,
We'd still, in terms of like,
sport.
yeah, I mean, they would still follow the same eligibility policy. If they're there for half the day, they're still eligible for practice, they're eligible for games. Really, the only caveat that we would have that we don't have right now is what happens if they lost their job or they weren't working at their job. So obviously, they would have to come back and get into classes in our building, which we would obviously communicate that with them and their parents, that, hey, if you're working 20 hours a week at Hooters, we need that documentation every week that you're actually working there, and then that would be your grade for that class. It'd be a pass or fail class, and they would get the opportunity to do that. And then, obviously, if there was issues there, then we'd have to put them back in a class and say, based off this is what you're gonna have to do. So, obviously, if this goes through and it's new, there's gonna be some kinks to potentially work through, but we have a lot of seniors right now that second semester will be taking classes that they do not need, other than, it's just, you have to be here all day. So trying to not have that be as much of an issue for seniors.
So in the 2029 schedule, the 3 off-site hours, that's enough to get them from the morning till lunch? Okay. I can't remember how the hour breaks down throughout the day.
Well, it would depend, like, you'd have to have multiple classes of government. You'd have to offer multiple of these because like the Flint Hills kids are gone in the morning. Like it wouldn't be.
Traditionally, government is.
Everybody does.
Yes, government is offered in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, our kids could go in the morning and then they come in the afternoon and get their classes or vice versa, depending on how the schedule works. Really, we're gonna try to accommodate how the kids' schedule is and then based off when these classes are offered. And then, give them the opportunity where they don't have to be there all day long. That's really the caveat and the focus there is, if they have a class that they don't need, then let's give them the opportunity to go learn a skill or make some money somewhere else.
You're implying that the government English would have to be offered in the afternoon for the kids that are in college?
Yes.
And it'd have to be offered in the morning for the kids that were leaving and going to work?
Yes.
Right, yeah,
And
yeah.
so how our senior schedule work, that is how that works.
You have morning and afternoon?
Government and English are offered right now for our kids in the afternoon.
But that won't work for
that
everybody if
seniors.
you do this.
So we would have to get creative on how we did that depending on how the schedule worked. And if it doesn't work out for every kid, then we'll just have to adjust. So it's not gonna work out 100% for every kid year one, right off the get-go. But, if a kid goes to class for 5 hours a day in our building and they've met our requirements, then they don't have to be here the other 2 days, or 2 hours as well, so.
To me, this almost seems like an expansion on the seniors being able to go do an internship somewhere. I know, well, it's not just seniors, I think my son did it last year as a junior.
Yeah.
They leave for the last hour of the day, you're just allowing it to go a little longer and allowing it to expand what all falls in the time that you're allowed to do that.
Right, trying to prepare them for adulthood as much as possible. And again, my biggest thing is if a kid doesn't need to be there, I have a hard time making them stay at school when they've met all their requirements. To me, that's the big one for me, and giving them the opportunity to go out and make a buck or learn a skill to prepare them for the real world. So, I've talked to a lot of our seniors too, and when you're second semester and you're in a class that you don't necessarily need to graduate, that we've all gone through that dreaded phrase of senioritis before. And, there's a reason why that phrase is out there.
The only question I'd have left is, are other schools doing this kind of thing, like in the area, or?
Traditionally, it's a bigger school thing.
Okay.
It's, you don't see this very often at smaller schools.
We
Why?
used to do that here. Yeah.
I did my senior year.
Yeah, I was
So-
gonna say, I'm sure Lucas knows that is how we used to.
So, we don't have a lot of schools in our area, in our size, that do that. But one of the reasons I think we can do this is because we offer so many opportunities for our kids already, that a lot of our kids are gone so much as it is, which is a great thing. Why not give them the opportunity to,
Be productive.
yes, and to me, it's the best way to prepare them for the real world, so.
Sorry. You have any plans for, if it's super successful, a lot of kids are out of the building second semester, you anticipate maybe staff not having as many classes to teach or small classes, and how would that, I like to have
Yeah.
the staff we need and pay them what I can.
Sure, absolutely, yeah, that's always a concern down the road, and, if you guys would like some more data on, hey, if we were to go through this, what would the class sizes look like second semester? I'd be glad to do that, so, really, it would affect your elective type classes more so than anything, which is why I'd like to make marketing a required class, and I think that would create more interest in some other areas. And if a kid wants to be there all day, they're certainly capable of doing that. So really what it boils down to me is the seniors we have right now that are on pace to graduate with an abundance of class periods, the classes they wouldn't be taking would be their elective type classes. So I think that's why it's really important to make a marketing a required class, or to open up interest level in our facts and our home ec classes to ensure that they are teaching freshmen and sophomores all day long, so that when our seniors aren't in the building, we're not having class sizes of 1 or 2. So,
Something like this does have the potential, depending upon how the numbers work out too, if we have teachers who have less classes, that might mean a little more, hey, somebody's got to step out to go
Yeah,
be a basketball
absolutely.
coach, and we can cover who's in the building, as opposed to have to get partial day subs as much.
and the question that was asked earlier is, does this happen at smaller schools? And I think, well, I know that is one of the reasons why it doesn't, because if it does work, you may have some teachers that have some small class sizes second semester. And that tradition, that's why this is more of a big school thing. So if this were to go through and that were to work, to me, I would view that as a good problem to have.
Yeah, the second semester is busy with track and spring sports
Yeah.
and stuff where
So-
people leave early a lot, so.
Scholarships, taking visits, so to me, if it were to go through and we have a teacher that's got small class sizes second semester, because we have so many seniors doing the right thing, I would view that as, personally, as a good problem to have. And then what we're fixing on our end would be the result of a lot of positivity.
And that's for us to learn about and manage and
Yeah.
keep track of and
Yeah.
be efficient as much as
Yeah.
we can.
So-
Want to make sure we're.
Absolutely. So, and really it boils down to creating more positive behavior incentives for our kids. We did the semester opt-outs. We have 167 kids that have met our criteria that don't have to be there the last 2 days of the semester. And I'm just wanting to promote more things for our kids. If you do things the right way, here's your incentives. And it's just kind of pushing that forward more for our seniors.
Two things, so just to echo that, I got to thinking, because my son brought the paper home to my house and we went over it, but do appreciate that, because, I was thinking as a kid, what would incentivize me to want to do better, and not being in school would definitely incentivize me to do better, so
Yeah.
I think you got a good,
Right.
I think you got a, yeah, then go to work, right, so I think you got a pretty good idea there. My other thing is, let's flip the other side of the coin, right? Because you are going to have kids that aren't going to meet the criteria.
Right.
And you stated that they're going to be in classes that they don't need.
Mhm.
So how do you keep them engaged to meet the vision of the board, right? To be passionate contributors to their career and community. So what do you have in place on the other side of the coin for that?
So for our kids that are struggling academically, is that,
That don't meet this requirement.
for the senior the
Yeah.
semester opt-out?
The
part?
senior.
Oh, the senior.
Yeah.
Really, to me, at that point, we've got to try to get you to graduate. I mean, if you're not out and about, that means you've either failed a class or we're concerned that you're not going to graduate. So,
Well, the thing is, like, let's say the kids are meeting these requirements, maybe they don't have a job or can't attend Flint Hills, so they've met all the requirements, and they've met the graduation requirements, but they don't have the opportunity to go Flint Hills
right.
or get a job, but they have to be in school for classes that they don't need, is what you said, so I was like, that's my question, is how do you keep those kids engaged?
I think we would have to get creative and see what we could do with inside of our building to have them help other adults. I don't have the number specifically on how many kids that would apply to, so right now we're at 247. So, roughly based off that, our class sizes are about, a little over 60. I can't envision that number of that example being very high of kids that have met all those requirements and then want to be there all day. Certainly, we would have a few of those, and I think we would have to get creative on how we continue to provide them with some fair enrichment activities. So that, to me, if we had 3 or 5 of those kids, and I can't imagine having more than that, we would definitely have to get creative on how we provide them with those opportunities. If they want to be in classes all day, they could, but if they don't, then, Coach A has an intern as an athletic director of helping people. We could do things like that where they are a teacher's aide, or they shadow somebody, or they're helping an adult within the building so they're not in a class. I mean, I think we could get creative on those opportunities, but I would not want to have a kid in class all day that has earned the right not to be in there.
And the reason I asked is, unlike Lucas and Selena, I was the kid that was like, I'm here for the second half of the day and I have no idea why,
Right.
you know, and so I just wanted to provide that.
Yeah,
other side
I
of the
think,
coin to
yeah.
say,
Absolutely.
there's always gonna be that.
And to me, the biggest thing is I just don't want our kids that have met all the requirements to have to be in a class they don't need to be in, other than, well, that's just the way it is. I just have a hard time with that. I'd rather them out learning a skill, making some money, helping somebody within the building, doing something other than just sitting in a class that they don't need. We just don't want to waste their time. So, yeah, there will be examples that come up or that are unordinary, but I have the confidence within our building that we can find a way to reach all of those kids, even if it is a unique situation. So there will be some kinks to come out with. And if we need some more data on what those class sizes would be for teachers second semester, we'd definitely get a ballpark idea on some of those things. But really, all of these kind of, if one goes into place, it could really alter the other two and then vice versa. So just wanted to introduce those and take your questions, and just those are the things we've been working on pretty hard the last couple months. So sorry to take
I
everybody
think it
else's
sounds
time.
like a great idea myself, so just, I would say move forward and looking at it.
Okay,
And this would go into effect for 26, 27 school year, not for this year. But this would be information for you all to have now, and as, you know, if you have any questions, you can bring them back in January if you have anything else pop up
Is this
between now and then.
Is this something we need to vote on, or just kind of give them a thumbs up, thumbs down? I mean, how does that work?
I would say just, you know, give verbal approval if anybody has any questions. Because it will be approved when you do the handbook. These will be in the
That's right.
handbook for 26, 27.
That's the answer I was looking for.
That would be the formal piece of it, so.
So what I can bring back in January is just an idea of just assuming that if this were to go through, what potentially some of our elective-based teachers' class sizes could be. Obviously, they're not going to be 100% accurate, but we could probably give a nice range on where those could look like, just so we are planning for that in the future.
Using like this year's seniors as a baseline or something?
Yeah. And just see, hey, how many of our seniors right now would meet this requirement where they don't have to be out here? And I think you'd be surprised. It would be more than you think. It really would be.
The only way they wouldn't be here is if they, for the most part, if they failed classes, I would presume.
Either had a severe discipline problem or they failed classes. So, you know, when they come in next year as freshmen, we have our assembly at the start of the year. Hey, you do everything the right way for 3 years, senior year, go make some money, you're out of here.
Great.
So,
Okay, thank you. Monique, do you have anything for him?
thank you for your time.
I don't have any questions, I think it's a great idea, actually.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you for that
okay, Lee,
25 minutes.
you have it.
I don't have anything to add. You guys have any questions?
We're out of time anyway. so-
Yeah, that's what I figured, so I'm just going with it.
Craig Coleman.
Craig, yeah.
I don't really have anything much else to add. I will comment that whereas the 8th grade computer applications class and interactive media used to be the foundation classes for about 3 pathways, the state has shifted as they have revised pathways, and so now those 8th grade computer apps and interactive media is one pathway, but now business essentials and business essentials is like could be an 8th grade course and does cover those 3 pathways, which then gets you into that marketing. So part of it is a shift in what the state has as they've revised, and they've combined several pathways into one and different things like that. So as they do their revisions every 5 years.
Anything else for Craig? Thank you, Craig.
The AI policies or whatever.
Yes.
What can kids get to on their computer for like AI wise? Anything?
Pretty much. I mean, we try to block some of it,
Yeah.
but, you know, I mean, there are so many companies that are utilizing forms of AI that you can't block it all. I mean, you know, unless you did like a opt-in of websites where you said, okay, kids are only allowed to go to these 100, 200, 300, whatever websites alone.
Because I know, like, are you looking at policy-wise of like what AI they're able to use, or are you looking at like no?
No, we're looking at proper uses for AI.
Okay,
Most districts are looking at levels of use.
right,
And not just students, you know, what is responsible use as a staff member at, what is responsible use as a student?
yeah,
When is it allowed? You know, I was in a meeting last week, and like at the very beginning of the year, the very first assignment that students write as a paper is paper pencil. So that teachers can get an idea of,
yeah,
this is your personal abilities based on what you know, and to see your writing styles and that. And so, you know, in certain areas, you know, AI is not going away, you know? So
Right, that's- yeah, I just
it's
didn't
finding
know
those
that.
responsible uses and when it's appropriate to be used, both as students and as staff.
because I think, what can we use, Copilot is the one we can use it with, like that's the only one that you're allowed to use or whatever. I
Yeah,
just
but if
didn't
you-
know.
If you tell students they can't use certain AIs on their
They're
school
definitely-
computer, they'll use a different computer.
Right,
I mean,
So the first time it ever
Yeah,
really
they know more about it
surfaced
than we
that
do.
I'm aware of was about 4 years ago when Snapchat started becoming really popular with students. And we had some kids Snapchat AI a paper in 8th grade. Because then we got with Craig, went back and put it into a system, and it was 99%.
That is the one thing, there's all kinds of systems now to do AI chat or AI
Yeah.
checks, so.
Yeah, and largely what we've faced to this point is already covered within our plagiarism and your own, you know, your own use. But with the growing number of AI uses out there, you know, deep fakes and all those kinds of things, school districts are beginning to develop
okay,
policies and that.
thank you.
I know when I attended the school board conference, I went and sat in the State Board of Education panel, and that question was brought up about AI, and they have a software engineer individual on there and talked about that AI really can't be used for plagiarism anyways, because it's not reliable, right? AI is not reliable, and even when you look at it and you go at the very bottom, there's an asterisk, right, that says this is not a reliable source, or there's something about reliability inside of that because of right, somebody scanned a document, said it was plagiarism, they went and looked and said this was actually not plagiarism, AI was not true and accurate. So one thing I will say that even the State Board of Education is looking into AI and how to enforce it at a level that can be sustainable, or you know, can be used at school as a tool, and probably not as a, you know, a lot of it was the older generations, like, oh gosh, AI is going to teach us math, and so I was like, no, it's just more of a tool, right? But one thing they were for certain though is that it is not a reliable source. So one thing to caution on that is that although it might say something, that we should always be cautious that it is not a reliable source. So anyways, look into potential whatever state board is talking about it, because it's on their discussion topics.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Anything else for Craig? Lindsay, I think we skipped you. She said no.
No.
Oh, when I was looking at the computer, sorry. Go, Craig.
Here's some information again. We, and I truly mean we should all be proud of our facilities and the strategic plan piece in our strategic plan in terms of facilities. I'm not going to read over everything, but I know this is something I am very proud of, and we all should be very proud of over the past 10 years. The improvements that have occurred all throughout the district at all levels, elementary, middle, high school, athletic complex, the list goes, goes on and on. But again, there's a lot to be proud of and a lot of work that's been done, and it takes a lot of time, energy, effort. And you guys as a board have been, all of you together, all of you as board members have been very, very supportive of improving facilities and so on and so forth. Down below, I want to talk a little bit about, again, the preventative measures that we have done. Preventive maintenance is so important. The work we do with automated control systems. Again, we're exceeding expectancy, life expectancy with boilers and chillers. Those are big, big ticket items, hundreds of thousands of dollars. By 10 to 15 years with boilers and chillers, ACS is telling us that you don't get 20, 25, 30 years out of boilers and chillers like we have. I think the last chiller that we ended up replacing was like a 33-year-old chiller. So again, that preventative maintenance we're doing, the sewer jetting, cleaning schedules, the chemical treatments, the pest control, all those things are very, very important to take care of our facilities. And we're just very fortunate again to have such valuation tax base from Evergy, Wolf Creek in our district. And again, it's very, very important to what we do here. So again, lots of good things, lots of we things that we should all be proud of. So I want to mention a little bit about the Walter and Evan Jones Testimony Trust Mobilizing Literacy Grant. I can remember that was one of the first things that I got hit up with when I first took this job 10 years ago. I remember Darla coming to talk to me about, here's this great grant opportunity, and we got going really fast on it. And we've been able to have that liaison person, Amanda Briggs, and Darla and Amanda have been tremendous to work together to help that pre-K and kindergarten connection in our community and in our schools. And I think we're starting to see some results now. Again, as we're seeing those kids become older and they're getting to be 3rd, 4th, 5th graders, so on and so forth, and we're seeing some test results with them that we are really positive information there for us. And so again, anything early childhood, early literacy, early education is so important. The kids are such sponges, and I know how important that is for kids at an early age. So again, kudos to Darla and Amanda for the work that they've done in terms of that information. You all have asked me to get some more information. Darla and I have been spending a lot of time with Clark Simpson, as well as Brian Fenmore and Mike Patrick from County Warden, and we, over the past 6 months, have gained a lot of information. I shared with you, I think it was the beginning of last month, right after the board meeting in November, shared with you some information that we received, because what you wanted me to do, what Darla and I to do, is gain information in terms of what a renovation would cost at Burlington Elementary School. And that was one thing we didn't. When we did the bond issue, we just did general information. We had, I think Nabholz Construction came and talked us through and gave us just a rough idea. We didn't go into that number extensively because the information we were getting back from the advisory committee was we should be looking at a new elementary facility. So again, we gave a rough number of about $25 million. That was what Nabholz, when they came to visit with us on site, what it would be, just their best guess, not getting in deep to the weeds, so to speak. So since the bond issue failed, again, one of the things we heard is we really didn't get an idea of what a renovated elementary school would cost. So we've spent a lot of time over the past 6 months. That number is not 25 million. The number is closer to 34 million. If you were to do what needs to be done at Burlington Elementary School, basically to make that space similar, to a newer type facility, a newer type building, it's going to be 34 million. And that's not bringing the 5th grade back. That is not putting the Belk, a new Belk, if you will. So remember, we'll go back, kind of retrace. When we had the $45 million bond issue in place, that was a birth to grade 5 facility at $45 million. Brand spanking new. Remember that the Belk is a 1922 building, and it's been so many different things throughout the years, the history of the district. It's been the board office, it's been a Belk, it's been Boag shop, it's been, I could go down a list of probably 4 or 5 other things it's been. That building's 1922. It's going to need some attention in the future. So again, go back, birth to grade 5 facility, brand new is $45 million. this here, the only addition we're talking about is a 5,000 square foot office space to be on the northeast corner by the gym. And then there'd be a 3,000 square foot, we're gonna call it a music room slash storm shelter, like a FEMA storm shelter. That music room, where the music room is currently located, is right next to the cafeteria. We believe we can access some additional space for the cafeteria by maybe taking out a wall there and getting that music room space for the cafeteria to make the cafeteria larger. So that's why those are the two areas, the only two additions to this plan, or to the Burlington Elementary School. We'll call it renovation with small addition. That's why those two areas are looked at. We really believe that the front entrance needs to be on that north side. That main entrance needs to be on that north side. Then you look to rework parking and site work and grounds and so on and so forth. So anyway, the renovation small add-on looks more like 35 million or 34 million now. And those are very accurate numbers. I've shared with you documents that you can see how they work. They basically, Darla and I went over with Clark and Brian and Mike. We created light, medium, and heavy renovation areas. So again, first grade wing, for example, is a light renovation area because we did a complete gut in 2020 with that first grade wing. It's going to be essentially probably a sprinkler system there that needs to be put in, because if we touch all parts of that building, it's going to have to be sprinkled. New codes will make it mandatory that we sprinkle the entire building to meet codes that are current. So anyway, having said that, that's a light area. There are going to be areas that will be medium, areas that will be heavy. I think you see the diagram in your attachments there, and then you see some square, as far as what cost per square foot is going to be. Now, McCown Gordon wanted me to make sure and let you guys know that, again, if whatever, let's say the board wants to try to pass, you get feedback and you say, again, I'm just throwing out an example. Let's say you guys say you want to try to pass, you think we can pass a $25 million bond issue, then you're going to have to make determinations and scale down what needs to be done. I can tell you that this isn't anything extravagant. What Darla and I worked with Clark and Brian and Mike, it's not the quote-unquote Taj Mahal. This is a strong Chevy, if you will. It's not a Rolls Royce, it's not a Tesla. I guess that's the new term, the new car that's fancy, the Tesla anyway. Rolls Royce, I'm showing my age here anyway. Having said that, I'm going to stop here and just ask and just answer some questions that you may have.
Yeah, so I'll start. So, and again, I know that we talked about this renovation versus build, et cetera, and all that. And so, if we renovate for 34 million or whatever, what does that get us? I mean, how much time does that get us before we say, okay, so let me just readdress that a little bit different. The entire county is looking at trying to grow the county. They're wanting to grow the industrial base, they're wanting to grow housing.
Yeah, but they've been wanting to do that for years. I mean,
okay, let me finish. So, they're wanting to grow all that, and so that's my question. Now, whether or not we grow or not, I don't know. That's a question that I don't know that anybody can answer right now. But what does that get us overall? So,
You're going to have a real nice building. I'm not going to lie to you, it's going to be really nice.
and that's what I mean, how long will that sustain us, I guess?
I believe it takes you, dozens of years in terms of 30, 40, it's hard to project again what the future looks like, but this project would give that life expectancy to Burlington Elementary. It would extend it out further because you're going to be taking care of system, utilities, electrical, plumbing, the HVAC work that all that needs to be. So you're going to be taking care of all the mechanical type systems. So again, one thing that I will tell you this, Darla and I met with her elementary staff on Friday. We went I've already shared this with you, and I knew it was coming up on Monday. We gave a little sneak preview that we were going to be talking about this at the board meeting, and we did talk, and you see a timeline there, guys, that if you were to pass a bond issue in March of 2026, which I don't think that's gonna happen. Again, remember, the state laws now for bond issues, March, the first Tuesday in March, first Tuesday in August, first Tuesday in November. You only have 3 times that you can pass a bond issue. So this next one coming up, you're probably not gonna do it March 2026. August, I guess that could be a target date. And then you go to November, you're gonna have general election for governor, so it's gonna be a big voter turnout. You're gonna have to make some decisions there. So again, your time frame is gonna be 2 full school years where they're gonna be working construction. And we're gonna have to work around them because they're gonna be working during the time frame. This isn't gonna all just be done in the summer. There's gonna be work that's gonna be done during the school year. They're gonna try not to disrupt as much as possible, but there's gonna be some noise, dust, mess, you get the idea. So when this project would be done, would be the start of the 28-29 school year, August of 2028. So it's gonna be 2 years, and then Darla staff were like, oh, you could just see the look in their eyes. It was kind of hard to see that they're gonna be going through this type of, it's gonna have some impact on education. Other questions, comments?
Anybody else?
No, I think, it's something we have to look at regardless of any conversation in growth in the county. I don't even care about any of that stuff. We have safety issues that need addressed, 27 doors in the building, 5,000 square foot office that people are gonna call it. It's really creating a safe entryway for the school. Right now, you walk up to the door and one of the secretaries hits a buzzer, and then you can walk in and walk right to the first grade wing and yell at your kid or your wife or whoever you want without actually having to stop at the office. A new 5,000 foot facility located on the north means you enter the building, you talk to the staff, and then you enter into a foyer essentially.
Yes.
You talk to the staff, you're vetted that you should be there, you're safe to be there, and then you enter into the rest of the building. So you create that buffer for our children, our students, and our staff. And all that needs to happen regardless of the county getting 2 more families or houses put up. I mean, that stuff has to happen. So we look at just doing that and, like you say, paring it down to $25 million. And then we still have in 20 years, we have a 70-year-old building that has parts and pieces scattered onto. I don't know, it still doesn't seem like the right place to put public's money. But they definitely weren't on board with maybe the birth through 5th grade facility we had. So should we re-examine what we did with that, with not a birth through 5th grade? Part of the thoughts about why we did that was to make it safer, essentially get the Belk and the school and everything on one campus. We had long conversations about the benefits and not benefits from moving the Belk up there. I'm kind of at the point that I think the whole thing needs re-examined with as many people as we can get around it with these numbers and a real, no kidding, strict plan of what a remodel looks like. And I'm open for what everybody else is thinking. I don't think there's any reason to pull a trigger and say we shoot for a bond issue for doing this next August. I think that'd be irresponsible, but I think we need to do something. I think the public said that the other idea we had wasn't feasible at the time. So I think we need to take this information and evaluate it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it and what we heard was we didn't have this.
Right,
We didn't
exactly,
have
that's what I'm
these
saying.
hard numbers. We did come out the gate saying, we're gonna be expanding, we're gonna be getting bigger because these chip plants are coming. No, I mean, we can't build with, the expectation that something's gonna happen and we're gonna grow like that. And so I just think it was just right off the gate, not done right.
Yeah, I'll take some fault on myself and how that went down. I'm not impervious to that, but I'm willing to learn and go forward and do what I still think needs to be done and address issues that don't make
Absolutely.
This is just more information than anything, and you guys may want to look at doing, movement forward in January, setting up, do we want to have some community meetings and share this information? McCown, Gordon, and Clark from GMCN, they will be there at meetings if we have open house, town hall type meetings for the public to talk about, okay, here is the information, small add-on, and renovation of Burlington Elementary School. This is what it's going to cost. Also expect, again, that $45 million price tag on a brand new BES, which we had for a bond issue, that's gone. That's long gone. 3 to 5% increase on that if we were to do it this year. So the reason I say this is it's not going to get cheaper. It will not get cheaper. You're going to have a 3 to 5% increase if we were to try to pass that $45 million building this year. And again, each year it's probably going to be somewhere between 3 and 5% increase. And so anyway, so I think that's something for you all to think about. And maybe we look at setting up some meetings, January, February. I would agree, you're not looking to do anything March. That would be my recommendation to you all. I think August or November is a more reasonable, time frame for us to accumulate more information, kind of like what Selena has mentioned and what you all are saying. Yes?
So I just add, so I'm not saying that the county is gonna grow, but I think that has to still be, you still have to think about that as you future plan. Doesn't mean we have to do anything with it, but you gotta keep that in mind. I mean, so I think that's just a whole awareness. Otherwise, I think it's a little bit like what Lucas said. And again, I've said it before, you throw good money at bad. I mean, so we throw a lot of money into the lower elementary. And I'm not saying that we don't need it, because there's some stuff that definitely needs to happen there. But we throw a bunch of money into that, and then you're there. I mean, you're not going anywhere. You're gonna be there, and that's why I asked the question, how long is it gonna give us? And said,
I believe that facility will last you a long, long time if you do it the right way. If you do it the right way. But it's still going to be located in a landlocked area. It's still going to have traffic issues. And when I say safety issues, I'm not saying safety because of the jail there. I think the jail is safer than it's ever been. Safety meaning traffic. There are some kids at the elementary who, like, at times may like to run. And if they run in traffic, highly populated traffic areas, you're going to have issues. So you have some issues that you have to deal with. So this is information for you to think about, talk about. We'll bring it back up in January and continue to have these discussions, and you all can give me some direction on how you want to move forward with some. Do you want to have some, open house, town hall type meetings, just with people to give us feedback on what makes sense and what doesn't? John.
One thing, so piggyback on that, right? The public really commented one of these numbers. I'll echo what everybody else said already. What we've done now is we posted all this information on our public agenda. So everybody that really wanted to know has complete access to what we have now. So people of YouTube can go and find this agenda on boardvote.com or whatever, right? So they can go look at and say, this is all the information we have. So get informed, right? The other one is maybe Mr. Baldwin's plan will work really well, that when we have a reduced number of kids in high school and we can just switch classes, right?
Yeah.
So you got a plan now, is that we take elementary to the high school, we got learned about it. With the reduced numbers, we can take them to the elementary. But anyways, that was just being silly, but in reality is the stuff is posted on public agenda, go look at it and get informed.
I mean, we could share it.
Yeah,
And make it
absolutely.
easier,
Yeah.
and so people don't have to dig
It's
for it. Because
It's
not
not a
everybody
one click, it's gotta go
watches.
through.
Yeah, not everybody watches.
Yeah, I never would have found it before.
Yeah.
I realize we're all kind of repeating each other here, but I agree. I think when the first year rolls around, past the holidays, I think we need to sit down and talk about all these different options. And I agree with everything you guys have said. I do definitely understand Selena's concern with growth should not be a primary thing that we talk about, but at the same time, I understand James's viewpoint. A little bit of OE. My dad was on board in another district when they decided to build a new building for this exact same reason. The old one was getting worn out, and by the time they finished the building, the new building wasn't big enough. So, and they did not expect, they didn't see it coming. I'm not saying that we need to say, hey, we have, how many kids was it in the high school?
247.
Yeah, I'm not saying we're gonna jump from 250 kids per school to 500 tomorrow, but I do think we need to at least be keeping that, maybe not as a first or second level issue, but maybe a third level issue. We need to at least keep it in mind. So.
I mean, I do think, I will just say, like, I think it is worth us somehow, however you all decide to, like, poll the people or share the information, because, like, this was even before, like, all the numbers and stuff ran, but we had site council, which is some teachers and just some parents, and I will say it was pretty resounding with those people. I mean, they're much more in favor of the building. And they really talk about like, you know, they really think the emphasis needs to be on safety. Like, we really need to come back. If we look at whatever, I mean, you know, we even talked about like, you know, this, we've kind of talked about this before with you guys, but like, does the scope of that project change? Like, do we look at what we tried to pass before and kind of like even talking this renovation, like, do we pare down somewhere in that project to make it more palatable to the people? But, I mean, I think it would behoove us, before we go to all the effort to like run a bond issue, is really feel out a wider variety of our constituents, because we had a really, our advisory board was good, but like we had a lot of the same population, I think, represented, and not as broad as we could have, if that makes sense.
That was like the only people we could get to show up at the
I
beginning.
know,
Well-
and I'm not-
Yeah, I mean, that was the only people that cared to give an interest at that
But
point.
here's
But I
the
think
thing.
that it showed from the voters, that we had, it's the older
Yeah,
voters.
we
So
need
we
to
need to go to the senior center, we need to go to the coffee shop, like whatever we decide to do.
We
We're
have the
gonna have
names, we have the names of some of the people who were on the opposite side of the spectrum
Yeah.
last time.
But I mean, like the
And if it
voter
requires a
information.
direct email saying, hey, we want your viewpoint, then we need to do that to try to get all the way across.
Yeah, but the demographics of
I think
Yeah.
also just like really making the people understand like what a day in the life is like, because the people are like, it was good enough for my kids and it worked. And like, again, kids are still kids, but like the challenges that we face every day in education, they're a lot different. I mean, I'm like, what am I, year 29, Craig, when we talked about that earlier this year? Like, and I haven't been in elementary all those years, but I have been for a lot of like the last 20 something. And when I first started being a principal to like being a principal now, what I deal with on the daily basis is changed significantly. So it is different. I mean, you know, the needs of children are different. I know you guys know that.
We have a lot to discuss. I think that's what we all agree on.
We'll bring it back in January.
And thank you guys for putting in the extra effort and spending the extra time that I'm sure you would have been rather doing things more directly related to your daily job.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that a lot.
I do think that regardless what we do, we have to somehow get public involvement and get these people that want to come in after we've done all of this work and say no and throw up their hands and complain about stuff. We need those guys to be on the front side and actually get some work out of them or some influence from them, because it's really upsetting to sit here and work on this for
Over a year.
No longer. We started talking
Couple
about it on my
years,
first board
yeah.
meeting 2 years ago.
and then get people to come in and just complain. It's pretty upsetting. So y'all out there watching, you guys need to get involved.
Yeah, and I know that everybody just got their tax bill, so I'm sure they want to hear the board talk about raising taxes, but it was 7 mils, I believe. 7.
7.2 mils.
So overall, right now, liability of a USD 244, person including county and fire department, the school, everything, is about 91 mils. So we're looking at 7, so you're looking at less than an 8% increase. So do the math on your property taxes. Less than 8%, just take what you pay, and that's what it is. You don't have to guess how much it'd be if we got a new school. It's possible to do the math and understand that, hey, that is only $200 a year for a new school that's gonna last us 60 plus years. Can I afford that investment in my community? And have the intellectual and intelligent conversations and thoughts and questions about it. That's all.
We'll bring it back in and talk more in January and continue this on and figure out what we want to do. Good conversations, thank you. That's all I've got.
Oh, you didn't want to discuss the letters of
Oh,
interest?
letters.
Well, I can mention that too, just so you know, that Flint Hills Technical College and Allen County Community College as well as, I do have letters of support from them wanting to have satellite, versions of their programs. Flint Hills Technical College and Allen County Community College in Burlington, but they need the place to have the facilities. In other words, Burlington Elementary School. There were questions about what would happen with the current Burlington Elementary School if we built a new Burlington Elementary School. I've shared with you letters. We've met with them. Darla and I have met with, and I'm waiting on one from Emporia State, but they are interested as well. they are interested if they've got a place to have satellite versions of their program, of their colleges here in Burlington.
I think
Should be beneficial.
I only wanted to discuss it because I know that was an issue for a lot of people, and I understand that this is not a commitment,
No.
but it's a step in the right direction. It's more than just, I talked to a guy and he said.
Right.
There's some actual written on paper, you know.
They're not interested in purchasing them.
They
correct?
cannot purchase, they cannot purchase a
Right.
facility
So it
because
would
they
be, we
don't.
still own it.
Or somebody would own it and do a rental, a lease type option with them.
I mean, there's,
Ideally, we would not own it, but could there be an entity maybe that would be interested in owning it and doing it?
Foundation.
they
It's
sell it
very
to us at a
possible.
cheap enough price.
Exactly, exactly.
I mean, it might be worth it to sell it to the county or
Well,
something.
then that's, yeah.
So that's possible. Okay.
Thank you, Greg.
Anything else?
Results, I think.
Yep, now we're at the results report. Let's see, what's take that on to someone else. Darla, I think.
Our summary is our kids are smart. No, I think,
Some are smarter than others.
The state assessment, I don't know if you guys have read through the slides, and we talked about it before at different, earlier meetings this year, the cut scores and all that changed, the way that they're determining, what our, Christie, if you'll go over the one slide maybe from there, kind of talks about those different,
The other direction.
It's,
there you go. Talks about the new descriptors and like what, how they rescale that and just like what that means. So basically, again, you know, we want the kids to preferably be in 3s and 4s, but level 2 is considered basic. So that's new. The big change, big reason for that change was like, they felt like the students, particularly about the older grades, like how they were performing on ACT and other post-secondary readiness wasn't matching how they were performing on state assessments. So I think there's probably more change at the higher grade levels, more so than the lower ones. So it's kind of like a restarting point on our state assessment, so you can't really, you know, like compare like how we did a year ago to this year because the scores are different. But I can just speak like for my building, looking at our scores, I'm excited to say like again, we performed higher than the state averages at both of our grade levels. So anytime we accomplish that, we feel good. So there's the DES scores showing our kids. So in both, you can, like the white is the level 1, which is the lowest. So you can see like across the state, like, I mean, we don't have near as many kids in there. So we feel like we, good job. I mean, like that's great to see us being successful in that assessment.
Yeah, the cut numbers have moved, and that's obviously affects it, but how we compare to the rest of the state, that is something that we can lean on, and that is gonna be fairly consistent, so.
Yeah.
And with that, fifth grade math performed below the state average, but something that I did put up there that's good to see is 7.5% less students performing at level 1 in the state overall at the middle school. And then also 7.5% more students performing at level 3 and 4 than the state also. We've had quite a little bit of turnover in 5th grade with that. And so we have 3 new teachers, one that's there, and then we have 2 new ones. When we look at our fall interim data, when I look at the overall average last year, we're about 2 percentage points higher than what we were last year at this time. So that's good to see. 6th grade right now, when we look at our fall interims, definitely outperformed the state by 9%, which is very good to see as well. And then that's based on this year's fall interim data. And then last year, 7th grade math just absolutely knocked it out of the park. 7th grade in math and language arts did very, very well. Within that, 8th grade performed above the state average. That's the first time in the last couple years that has happened also. So, one thing that I've done is sent to all staff members that gave the fall interim. I went through and we color coded it. If we're above 80%, it was green. If it was 70 to 79, it was yellow. If it was 60 to 69, it was orange. And then if it was below 59, it was red. Now, obviously, some of those skills on the fall interim we have not taught at this point. And that's just natural with that, so.
And a quick reminder with the results report, you're doing a 30,000 foot view of how things are going. They are diving in their buildings to individual students who are not doing quite as well. They're looking and evaluating individual students, and that's very important for you all to know. They're having discussions with teaching teams, they're having discussions with all staff, building administrations leading those discussions, and they're making sure that they're diving into the kids that have some challenges.
So the question that I have then is, why are we assessing kids on curriculum that we have not taught them? And then giving them
That's just the way the state interim is set up.
The interim does
We
that.
have no control over
There's
that.
no instruction
Yep.
around it. So there's interim tests. These are some of the tests that are intended like the standards that you should be teaching, you know, what you're going to like be assessed over. So the state's developed what they call interim test, which covers all the standards, but they want you to take that data and use it to form instruction, because then you can we have a fall interim, and then we have a winter interim, and so you can kind of track their growth and like, okay, on this standard, we've made some gains.
Gotcha.
Or teachers know like, yeah, I mean, like last year when we gave for the first time, my teacher's like, we had fractions on that, and we hadn't taught it yet. Like, yeah, we didn't
That makes
do that,
sense.
so we know we gotta get the
And
fractions.
some of it doesn't even make sense why it's on the fall interim as well.
But those numbers don't show up on
That
it.
don't- You're not
No.
seeing any, and those are more like,
No.
so, and.
Those are tools that-
It's just a good indicator, are we on the right track?
Deborah helps our teachers a lot in my building, like, look at those results and kind of know like, okay, like, here's what we need to be doing, here's where we need some work, and so they are spending a lot of time in that data.
Because that one is the 2024, where the fifth grade was below.
Lower. That
But
was last
then
year.
on the 25, then sixth grade is up. So
No,
that's
those are
that
all,
same
those are all
kids.
24, 25. That's all last year's data. So if you go to
So 25, that was,
that is this year's sixth graders currently.
right, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, and they
So
are,
what-
go ahead.
Yeah,
So if you look at the fall
So-
interim data right now on our sixth graders, they're performing
That-
8 percentage points above
That
the state
page.
average.
so
Yes.
that's last year's fifth graders.
Correct.
And if you go a page above it, then that's the sixth graders.
No, that's the same thing, it's just broken down by grade level.
It ju,
It says 2020.
it says 25 at the top. One says 24, one says 25.
Oh, I must have missed that. I
That's-
apologize for that.
The other thing to keep in mind is on the new.
That would be why. So it should all be 25.
Okay.
Yes.
It's
But
also,
when we look at the fall interim from our sixth grade currently, they're performing 9% above the state average. So even though they were below last year at the end of the year, what we're seeing now is that they're performing above the average.
What were you saying, Lindsay?
just also keep in mind is that as they have changed the leveling system, they reduced the number of questions as well. So there may only be one level 4 question. If the kid were to not get that one level 4 question, they're automatically not qualified. So, whereas there's a lot more level 1. So the state comparison is a good comparison versus anything comparative from year to year.
Well, we have a small sample size of students also, so 1 or 2 students who are struggling are going to skew the data quite a bit.
Absolutely.
As opposed to a school that's got 600 first graders, you know, or whatever it is.
Makes a big difference.
And that's why it's harder to get them to level 4.
Is it safe to assume, you guys were talking about maybe we haven't covered a certain fractions or whatever yet. Is it safe to assume that if we were to try to cover fractions, we would have to take time away from another topic that was being covered on the exam? So it's you kind of
Right, for
picking and
the
choosing what
interns,
you're covering?
For sure, like the interns, like there's only, like the state says, like the interim test is available from October 10th through the 24th. And so like you have to give that formative assessment at that time. So obviously, I feel like it is in October, you're not gonna have covered very much of your curriculum at that point. And then again, the next one I think is the last 2 weeks of January.
Okay.
But the teachers know, we also know when the summer dates are, so they know like the things that are tested, we need to get those things all taught from August to March,
Right.
because that's when we.
You can't cover 9 months worth of material in a
Right,
month,
yeah.
but those scores should go up throughout the
So
year
it
as you
is
do it.
more so like they can evaluate the things that we've taught, like, yes, are they mastering it? Okay, check, we got those ones, and we can keep moving along.
I think that answers what you were asking earlier. Yes, okay.
And they can also give a kite mini that is specific to a standard that provides a little bit better data as well.
So, and I'll just, if we're done talking about the state assessment, kind of move this through here. So like, this test isn't the end all be all. It is very important, we all know that. But both of our buildings use different screening tests to, track student progress. So my building uses the Ames Web testing. So I just like to share with you guys, like, the 3 charts, like that was last year's first graders' progress. You benchmark in the fall, winter, and spring, and kind of track their growth. And then you can see like where our fall scores were. We're just wrapping up our winter benchmark season and are tracking that and getting ready to remake our growth. But like, obviously we want kids in the green because that means they're what is considered on a national test a no risk student for their subject. So like the bigger that green is and the smaller that red is, the happier we are at BES. So you can just see like every class, has made strong gains over the course of the years. And we spend a lot of time in our Ames Web data because once we look at it, then we do some diagnostic testing and further, determine what kids need. So
It's hard looking at this 30,000 foot level to get everything out of it. I appreciate you guys being able to speak. Plus I'm going to claim it's not my forte, so I appreciate.
This shows from last fall to last spring, so in 1 year's time, the growth over time. So what you want to see is you want to see the bottom side shrink, and you want to see the top side gain. And so when you look at 5th grade, we went from 62% above benchmark to 66% by the end of the year. So we raised that 4%, which is 3 or 4 kids roughly. 6th grade, for whatever reason, did decline throughout the year. But this year, when we start looking at some of the interim stuff, we're actually seeing an increase there. 8th grade, when you look at 7th grade pretty much stayed the same. They're a relatively high-performing group, and they work really hard. So again, 83% of them were performing above the benchmark there. And then when you look at 8th grade, 62% of the kids were above benchmark, and then by the end of the year, 67 kids were above the benchmark. So again, move 5% of our kids up. So we want to continue to see the top grow and the bottom shrink.
Same scenario that you have with the high school students in Fastbridge. They're using Fastbridge, whereas elementary's using Ames Web.
And I just wanted to add one thing on our end. Didn't get a chance to go over that. So when we take when we get our data back from not just Fastbridge, but from our CAP testing at the high school level for our sophomores, they place everything based off categories. And one of the areas that we're trying to figure out what we can do better for with our kids, for our sophomores, is the actual category of geometry type skills. So when our data came back, it gives us different percentages on how we perform in different areas, such as statistics, functions, interpreting functions, algebra, reasoning, and then geometry. So the area that we have to get better at in our building is the geometry area. So right now we're at a 60% clip, which would put us in the level 2 area. And that's something that we've got to continue to figure out what we can do better for our kids to improve in that geometry area moving forward into next year. So just to give a little recap on that.
Darla, I had a question back on yours. So it shows us the like fall, winter, spring of 24, 25, and then you have the fall of 25. Is that the same class, or it's the class coming in? That's like, so like on first grade?
Yeah.
So.
No, that's a good question. So it would be a different group.
Like that,
So,
it says like.
So this is, so like the 3 the 3 would be like last year's third graders
Right.
over the year, and then this is our third graders from this year.
Coming in who were
Yeah.
second graders
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
year. Okay.
Yep. Good
That's
question.
why I just didn't know if that was still that same group or
Yeah.
if.
No.
They
that way,
both say
like-
grade 3 at the top of the respective charts,
Right.
but a different year, so.
Right, yeah, that's why I just
So like you
didn't
can
know.
take that grade 3 and like go back and look at their second grade.
Right.
And see like, you know, they ended with a lot of green at the end of the second grade year and a little bit of red. So like there's some slide there, but also the test is adjusted like it's normal for third grade.
It's up a level.
Yeah, we
Because that's what I was like, gosh,
The
are
bar
we
goes
losing
up.
that much over the summer?
Yeah.
I mean, I know we lose a lot,
Yeah.
but I was just kind of shocked with that visual of like, wow, we're losing a lot.
Yeah.
But if the test adjusts for
Yes.
their, so then it gets a little.
You can adjust,
Okay.
so like today we had sit team, we were talking about different kids and everything, and so, you know, like their fall to the winter, like the expectation, like to score a certain percentile is raised because they expect, you know, 6
You're gonna
months of
have winter,
education to
yeah.
happen, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good questions. Anybody else? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to accept the math results monitoring report as reasonable interpretation of the Board of Education results policy.
Second.
Motion second, discussion.
I don't think so, it's exactly.
Hearing none, submit your vote.
She's gonna have to figure it out.
Motion carries 7-0. So board member items, unfortunately Monique was not able to make it tonight. We did have a plaque presentation for her, so I'm gonna read it, Monique, I'm gonna read it, and then, you can come by the board office here and pick it up, or we can deliver to you, whatever you'd like. Okay, this Distinguished Service Award presented to Monique Hart in recognition of 12 years of outstanding service as school board member for USD 244 Burlington, awarded this 8th day of December 2025. And thank you again, Monique, for your service, and this will be here at the board office.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
I have an update on the Community Foundation to support the schools. So
Okay.
December, we definitely have kicked off the foundation, so we've been partnering up with Uber for the month. So if you've done any shopping at Uber, hopefully consider rounding up. It's been very successful. And then on Thursday, we have a tip-off event. We're doing a pep rally and an event for, basically just a tip-off event about the foundation and for basketball. It's at the Wildcat Grill. So they're making a donation, and I sent a flyer to Christy and she sent that out to the board members. So that's on Thursday. We are doing a meeting tomorrow at 7. Anybody really could attend to ask the Wildcat Grill to kind of get it finalized, everything finalized. We're putting out a mailer in the next few days for a founders campaign. We have that ready to go. On January 3rd, we're going to do bingo. But to anyone, it's kind of also for the Christmas break, holiday bingo. Mike Rose helping us out with that. He did one for CASA and was very successful, so he did help us. There was an article in the paper last week about the foundation and all the things that we've initiated, so we're moving forward. That's all. That's what I know about that. So hopefully, James and Selena have been, as board members have been on it, so hopefully you'll want to continue to kind of give updates. The administrators have been responsible and active, so we just are excited about the future. We also are doing pop-up shops at Friday night ball games. So that's just to get our name out there and going so far. They have questions?
Anybody have any questions on that? So, be nice if you all wanted to show up on the 11th, at the Wildcat Grill. So, kind of a kickoff campaign for that. Okay? All right, Monique, thank you. Superintendent search.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to make sure that we talk about and go over our schedule that we've done here with the superintendent search. Craig unfortunately told us he's going to retire in October, so we figured we need to find a new superintendent. We've hired KSB to help us out with that. We had a meeting with public interested parties to look at different characteristics we want to find in our superintendent. The board has met, discussed those. Those meetings were all in November. And January 19th, we need applicants to have all their applications into KSB. And then on the 22nd, it looks like we're going to do some screening as a board and go over things, talking about our superintendent search. And then it looks like at the end of February, we're going to intend to interview and find a successor for Mr. Marshall. So I just wanted to make sure that we're open and talking about the schedule so it doesn't surprise people when we introduce a new superintendent the first week of February, and just kind of get the conversation out there.
You originally said usually in January.
Okay, thank you. Great. So I just want to talk about as much as we can so people know that we're working to.
Yeah, I do appreciate, I know we all sat down and went over the results of all the surveys. It sounded like they got good feedback from a variety of different groups. I know they talked to individuals out in the public that have no association with the school. They talked to teachers at various schools, central office staff. It seemed like they pretty much got samples from every nook and cranny. I just appreciate anybody who was willing to sit down and spend some of their day to try to help us figure out the future of the district and where we're headed, because, I mean, let's be realistic, the superintendent is the face of the district, and, making the right decision here will make the next, 5 to 10 years, easy or difficult, so.
I had the opportunity to sit in on the discussion with the high school students. We had sophomores and juniors that were, that I comprised from, and it was really great. And they did a really good job. They asked questions. They shared really good comments. The two individuals that were there leading it were very impressed with our high school students, and then the high school students themselves were very appreciative that they were included in the search.
They did report that to us, that they were impressed with the feedback specifically from the high school students. So that's good to see that they're taking an interest in it. What were you saying?
Thank you. Okay, moving on to contract approvals and appointments. Like we have the driver's ed fees.
Yes, you'll notice that there's information here. This information should look very familiar from years past. One thing, again, after if you had a chance to look over it, you'll see our driver's ed fund is decreasing slightly. There's a couple of reasons. One, we've increased the amount that we're paying to our instructors, and we did do a partial purchase of a school vehicle with driver's ed funds and district capital outlay funds, because you can do that if we're using vehicles, our school vehicles, for driver's education purposes. So you'll notice that if I remember right, that dollar amount, that fund line was in the 30,000 range, slight low 30s, if you will. It's decreased a little bit. We have proposed to increase the resident fee, student resident fee to $140 and the non-resident fee to $340. Again, that's still a really good deal for, you don't have to travel to go to wherever, Topeka, to ABC Drivers Education School or whatever. So again, we propose to do a slight increase to those fees for driver's education. Any questions that you may have?
How much of an increase is that? I couldn't, maybe it's on here, but I've
$20. $120 and $320.
Okay.
Thank you.
So did we have this one trucker in the past?
There it is.
Because it says here too. I thought we had.
I was looking for a number closer to 140 and 340. I didn't realize he had $20.
It all depends on the numbers, sure. So it's a slight increase, it's not too much, but yet it helps us to rebuild some funds in that line.
Motion to approve driver education fees for the summer of 2026 at $140 per resident student and $340 for non-resident students admitted to the program.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Hearing none, submit your vote.
Motion
Motion carries 7-0. The
Christie,
summer 2026
It popped up a thing on my-
concrete project.
Sorry.
Huh?
It popped up a thing that said there was a problem recording your electronic vote. Please try again.
Oh, well, you were voted, you were on there.
Okay.
It does have you as a yay.
Has you as
Is that
a-
correct?
Yeah, it just popped up like a red message that said it didn't record it. Sounds like,
Something.
It actually didn't even allow me to save,
must have all glitched at the same time or something.
Yeah.
but it did record.
Okay, thank you.
So as you know, every year we do the summer concrete projects, and so there's your bids before you, for any of the concrete that we decided we need to fix or repair.
So there were a number of different projects, and basically project 1 through 16, you can see the breakdown. We had 2 bidders, Burlington Construction and Kane Construction out of Fredonia. Their bids were very, very similar in total amounts. You know, of course, their projects vary from one project to the other, but it wasn't that much difference between the two. Again, you can see what those projects look like. A lot of our parking lots, again, it's just parking lot work that's being done. There's a few different odds and ends type project. I worked with Brian Shank, Keegan Coolman, and Jared Herr out of the Grounds and Transportation. We went through the district. We looked at areas that just seemed to need attention.
So I would suggest, until we know what we're doing with the elementary, to not be doing all of this concrete work on there.
The elementary school has very, very small amounts that we'd be looking at doing. When you look at 1, 2, 3 projects. It's 1, 2, and 14. 1, 2, and 14 are very, very small amounts of work that we feel like.
And that's still $15,000.
Correct. We
That's
feel.
not like small to me.
And we can choose to not do anything at the elementary. These were some areas that we feel like that, again, safety, it was gonna be, needing to be done. They could be trip hazards, safety hazards, and so that was the minimum type areas that we felt like needed to be addressed. So, the one large dollar amount, I want you guys to all be aware of that, the one, number 15, that's one that we're not going to look at doing, but we wanted to get a price tag on that. That is basically the concrete area inside the fence line at Wildcat at the stadium. So we've had some issues with track that we are hopefully now resolved. One of the things that they talked to us about is concreting inside that area, a couple of things. One, concrete does hold moisture. Moisture, it helps with retaining the moisture around the ground, around the track. You don't have, different, heavy rains, the dry area, the dry times where you've got drought, where your ground shifts. Putting concrete next to your track will help the moisture in the ground, and it will also give more support to your curbing and your perimeter around your track. So again, that would be the start of a project to concrete inside of the Wildcat Athletic, or Wildcat Stadium there. Inside the fence line, connecting, I guess, the concrete, to the curbing around the track.
But you said you're not planning on?
We're not going to plan on doing that because that is a huge dollar amount of $129,000. Really don't want to do $298,000 worth of concrete this year.
So of course, just looking back at this, some of these seem like there's a big sway in what the price was. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
14,000 versus 2,500, that's something's wrong.
Yeah. So they had to have an on-site meeting with Brian to go over all of the areas. So I feel very comfortable. Again, the total amount is very similar. The project amount can be varied as far as the dollar amounts. So.
Didn't we just do the baseball complex triangle when we built that concession stand?
No, there's another area there. It's a very, very small area that just, it's tough to get a mower into that little small area. Concreting that area will not allow, we will have to get a mower in there, and then we also don't have to worry about trimming that area. It's a very, very small area. It's behind the press box to the south. It's just a little piece of ground. So anyway.
Great. What allows us to put this out, have them give their bids, and then us just say we don't want to do line 15?
We can accept or reject any and all areas if we want to. We could reject all area. We could do no concrete work in the district this year if we wanted to. It's up to you.
And this,
So,
Yeah.
number 16, that entrance 20, which one is that?
It is directly north of the woodworking shop. The Aggie Woodworking Shop. That is a culvert. It's a ditch it's dangerous in our opinion to mow down there. It has a.
So a lot of these aren't like we're repairing concrete, you're just
Some.
concreting over grass.
Some are, and some are repairs, and then there are some areas that are going to get rid of areas that are troublesome areas in terms of mowing and trimming, and just need to be, need to be addressed in our opinion. Again, a lot of this is parking lot repairs, as you can see.
So we could make a motion and withhold line 15?
The motion does not include.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
The recommended motion, and Burlington Construction was the low bidder in this project. They would be low bidder if we do look at this recommended motion with just those job areas, 1 through 14 and 16.
I guess my question is, to piggyback off Selena's comment, what's our risk for holding this off for another year until we get the Burlington Elementary stuff figured out? I mean, you look at it, it's what, 200 and, what's the bid?
No, it's 168, 929, 52.
168.
Typically, we do about $150,000 a year in concrete. Last year, we did a very, very small amount of $23,719. Only $23,000 and change last year. You got something to say, I'm sorry.
No, I don't like the idea where we just keep concreting more and more things, because then it just, the amount of concrete that we're gonna have to just keep repairing.
This, for example, this culvert that we're talking about, that is not a traffic area where you're driving over it. It's a small area. If you drive out north of that, you'll see what I'm talking about. It is a safety area, trying to get your mowers down into it. Yeah, it's a safety issue.
Is it unsafe to do it with the push mower?
You could do it with a push mower, but if you do these areas, again, more challenging, it takes more time. We have a lot of grounds, and we don't have a lot of grounds people. So it can help you with the drainage as well. When they're pushing snow, they can push it over into this area, which is then to a culvert, a drainage culvert. And as the snow melts, it's not going to be necessarily pushing the snow into a place where it's taking up parking spots. They're going to push it towards where there's drainage, culverts, and the water's going to run away. And again, we can do any and all. If you don't want to do anything at the elementary school, that's up to you. We can take those areas off. This is a very bare minimum of about $15,000 worth of concrete work approximately, but there are some safety issues, some trip hazards. A work comp claim is going to cost you more than $15,000. So.
I can just say you can get behind in a hurry on concrete or asphalt. I'd just soon have concrete or wood asphalt anyways. Once it starts breaking out, and the winter, the freezing and the thawing, et cetera. Now, some of this with the adding on, that's a little different. But
Well, I understand the point on the not doing the elementary school stuff because we don't know, but even if we make a decision in the next 6 months on that, we still have 3 years before we would have a new building if that's the way we went. And how is this concrete gonna stand up to 3 more Kansas winters if it's already starting to show some kind of degradation?
I guess I was asking Darla, what's the sidewalk that we're,
Honestly,
do you have any?
I wasn't part of that, to be honest, so I can't speak to that. I wasn't on too the concrete. So I don't know where the spots are that are being proposed without more explanation.
Do you have an explanation in here of which projects are a safety hazard and which projects are just a degradation of the concrete and which projects are an add-on?
I don't necessarily have that breakdown, but I would say how we evaluate it, we look to see if it is something that we're going to have issues with safety. I'm going to say pretty much all of it is safety. 13, 14, and 16 would be the only areas where you're adding some concrete, in my opinion. The concrete sloughs at the middle school, that would be number 8. That is, if you think on the north side of the middle school, it gets really wet there. The sloughs are going to connect to gutters, drainage, to shoot the water further away from your building. You get the water further away from your building, you have less foundation issues. We've done that at the elementary school with the concrete sloughs over on the 2nd grade wing to shoot water, get water away from your foundation so you don't have foundation issues. So I guess 8, 13, 14, and 16 would be the additional type concrete projects.
Well, if we are looking at 160 grand, that's those 3, and I'm just putting this out there, I'm not saying one way or another, you're talking 35 to 40% of the total cost with those few things, just because 16 is so high.
You said 14 is adding new concrete?
Yes.
That's not already there.
It's a small little area that's just a troublesome area for the mower.
18 square feet instead of 6 feet by 3 feet.
It's very, very, very small.
I'll make a motion to approve the summer 2026 concrete project bid from Burlington Construction Inc. for projects 1 through 14 and project 16 in the amount of $168,929.52. Is there a second? Motion passed.
Okay.
So, for me, I think we need to address, like Bob said, the sidewalks. We get our conversation with Trust Point every year to talk about safety all the time, about how our claims can affect very substantially our insurance rates. And so we need to address sidewalks, whether it's just going to be used for a year or whatever. We need to address any of those. So the ones that are listed sidewalk, I think they're no-brainers. Someone rolling a mower over on top of them doesn't sound like a great idea if they're mowing something that's too steep. Maybe there's other avenues to take care of that, like just rip wrap and not mow it instead of concrete. It can be substantially cheaper. That's just gravel, yeah, boulders, put a 3-inch rock, 4-inch clean rock or something. Not mow it, but still
Well,
not
I
have
was
to
gonna say,
put down.
'cause what have we been doing since 80, whatever, when the school was built? I mean,
Well, so that back road up there, and if it's the one I'm thinking of, it's settled, like part of that road's broke off on the north side.
okay.
And I don't know if it's because of some of the construction they did, what they did to track, when they put that one pipe that came out that has kind of get that flapper valve on the end of it. I don't know how that all set up and with the VHS construction and the ag room, if that's affected some of the slope or not. So things may have changed back there. I'm not aware of. And maybe we can address it in a more financially beneficial way. Maybe like I'm saying, like rip wrap. I mean, put down some mat, put down some rock, cost 10 grand instead of 60. I don't know.
Well, I just feel like we're concreting everything to get rid of having to mow it or maintain it. Like, and I know I loved the entryway at the elementary school. Like, I know it was work to maintain it, but then it's like, we just concrete over it. And then any piece of grass, we're just like concreting over. And then that's something that you have to constantly also then replace the concrete.
Yeah, what are some alternate solutions that we can go with other than just concrete and everything? I mean, concrete.
Well, I
I
still
know there's
want to
maintenance in anything we do, right?
Yeah.
But cost
Would-
efficiency wise.
Would you like Craig to come back with some alternates?
Well, I know it sounds nitpicky, because this isn't, to me, this isn't, looking at each one of these isn't necessarily something that we should be making that call.
Well, realistically, we're all guessing. We can go walk.
So that's what I was gonna
Yeah, I
say.
didn't want-
Is there any way, Craig, that we could get some pictures of what these things look like so we have an idea?
I mean,
Sure, I mean, I
I mean-
can take pictures of it.
I mean, if it's obvious that something is falling apart, and I totally get that if there's cracks showing up on the sidewalk, let's repair it now before it becomes an issue, because $4,000 or $5,000 here is gonna save us a lot more money in insurance later if there's an issue. I totally get that. But I think that would just make it easier for people to stomach some of them.
and it says the 2026 summer projects, right? So it's, are the bids good for a week if we get information? And then, did any of them say only good up until?
In 25 working days following the bid opening. So I could have some time to do it. We could do a special meeting.
Yeah, I mean, if we all,
I can pare this number down. If you want to get down to a certain number, or like I say, when we're looking at, that there's really, again, truly only 3 areas that are we're adding concrete. We're not concreting everything. It's number 13, which is 171 square feet.
No, I'm not saying
14,
right
which is
now.
332 square
I'm
feet.
just saying over the years, we just keep, any piece of grass, we just keep concrete.
so, but in this situation, we're just in 3, and that's what we're talking
Right,
about.
yeah. No, that's
So
what
the-
my comment was, like, we are putting concrete on everything. That's what it pertains
Gotcha.
to, not
And
this.
maybe if we have a picture and you see it on some of them, maybe you see the one that's 18 square feet and you're like, yeah, whatever, that one doesn't bother me because it's this
So
big.
can we get Greg, we'll get some pictures and submit pictures with the update?
I can do that.
And then, on our part, it's gonna take the board, if we want to do this within the 25 days of bid opening or whatever it was, we need to make sure that we're available to get that either approved or not, before it's gonna be a special meeting.
Because one of these companies is going to want to get, their summer schedule.
So, let's get some more information, but it's gonna take some time, more time for us to look at it, make sure we do what's right, and make sure that we don't have anybody tripping on something unsafe or mowing something they should be mowing.
Okay.
Right. I agree.
Okay, did everybody get a chance to look at the student handbook revision? Any questions or anything? Lee, you have anything to comment on that, or?
No, just the last time we talked, just reiterated the changes we made were to be more universal, middle school through high school.
This is, all information we've already discussed, and talked about, feedback, put in the form for us. Kind of like what we did tonight, in the future, we'll see this handbook.
Yeah, I forgot about this when we talked about it earlier.
Okay. Accept the motion.
Motion to accept the revision of the Burlington Early Learning Center parent, oh, I'm on the wrong one. Scratch that. Motion to approve the BHS student handbook revisions as presented.
Second.
Motion seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, submit your vote.
We can circle slash and.
Yeah. I don't do a lot of that anymore.
Monique, would you vote?
Yeah, just did, sorry about that.
Okay. Motion carries 7-0. Revision to the Burlington Early Learning Center DLC Parent Handbook.
Yes, you see the tuition payment policy. It's a revision that we wanted to put in place. So we were having some issues with some families and collecting overdue fees. We want to put a little more teeth into this to make sure we get our fees collected in a very timely manner. You see the tuition payment policy.
Right. Anybody have any questions on that?
And again, thank you to Christy, Lacey, and Lexi at the Belk. They worked really hard on getting this lined out.
Motion to accept the revision to the Burlington Early Learning Center Parent Handbook as presented.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Submit your vote.
I'm trying to make a motion on he hasn't got one.
Sorry.
Apologize.
No worries.
Motion carried 7-0. 5-year professional development plan.
So this was done at the Professional Development Committee meeting. This was a group of people that are involved in TDC, administrators, staff. Lisa Kuhlman does a terrific job of leading our PDC group. Again, this is just something we do every year, review I shouldn't say every 5 years, to review the PD plan. And this was done with everybody together on a Wednesday after school.
So they'll have to do it, so.
Exactly.
And it includes the discussions we had about, I pretty much blanked on it.
Yeah.
Professional development points. Okay. I'll move to approve the 5-year professional development plan as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, submit your vote.
I'm glad you found a pull weight on it.
So last time I voted, I hit yes and then confirmed it, and then the box stayed up, and I hit it again, and then it said error, but it still took it. So just maybe
Give it a second.
give it a second.
Maybe I double clicked.
It's a glitch.
Then I waited this time and it went through.
Yeah, mine's still,
Are you almost really hits the Pepsi button multiple
Okay,
times?
so we only have no executive session on personnel. Move into the principal contracts.
I'll move to approve the contract with Lee Bolin High School principal for 2026-2027 school year.
Sorry, I'm
And
not.
27.
Yeah, that's not the whole thing, we just.
Second.
Just like it says right there.
Motion second.
I second this.
Any further discussion? I know you haven't been here that long.
Lucas only tried to give you 1 year, so.
Submit your vote.
See if they catch that.
Hey, I need to prove I got a house and it's got
Right,
concrete.
he's my neighbor.
The concrete got poured, so I need this approved, please.
Motion carries 7-0. Welcome.
Thank you.
Continued welcome.
That wasn't on the concrete bed, was it?
I was looking at some of those quotes on there, I was like, some of those don't add up. I know a guy.
Yeah. Assistant Principal Athletic Director contracts. Motion to approve a contract with Ariane Sadell, High School Assistant Principal Athletic Director for the 2026, 2027, and 2027 and 2028 school years.
Second.
Motion seconded. Any discussion? Submit your vote.
I mean, that was 2 years with confidence.
that's like, there we go.
It's just slow to go through. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get to
Motion carries 7-0. Ariane, you're stuck with this. Middle school. Motion to approve contract with Matt Spring, middle school principal for the 26, 27, 28 school years.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? No discussion, submit your vote.
That one went fast. It did.
Well,
Motion
no,
carries-
it's still saying true.
Motion carries 7-0.
See, like, I
She's
don't
already
show
got it.
anything.
Moving along, motion to approve contract with Darla Long, elementary school principal for the 26, 27, and 27, 28 school years.
Second.
Oops, no,
Motion
just
seconded.
motion, like it's-
Any discussion? Hearing none, submit your vote.
Did we used to do these all together?
It's been different.
It's been different times.
We have done it together, we have done it separate. It's
Yeah.
And then it's just saying it's gonna be like.
It's because you're so far away and stuff.
This small signal has to hang at night.
Motion carries 7-0.
I think it waits for everybody to know likely that
Yeah, I was waiting.
Well, he already
Who's waiting
reads
on
it and
me?
then moves on, and mine's still saying it's transmitted.
Motion to approve a contract with Lindsay Graff, Special Education Director for the 26-27, 27-28 school years.
Second.
Motion seconded. Further discussion? None. Submit your vote.
How do you, oh, mine just popped up.
Monique, did you vote?
Yes, it is.
Just went through.
Just went through. Yeah, things are real slow here. Mine says raise in action.
Let's go down the one, yeah. Craig, she might.
Better, say, the technology director contract's coming up, so you better watch out.
Motion carries 7-0. I don't know, this technology's not working, Craig.
What a time for the technology. Trouble here.
Motion to approve. Contract with Craig Toolman, Technology Director for the 26-27, 27-28 school years. You better hope this goes through.
Yeah, technology.
Second.
Motion second, discussion, hearing none, submit your vote. Let's see if it makes the right through this time.
That one was. That went like super fast.
Yeah, I hadn't even hit the button yet.
You do?
So you're wanting to make everybody else nervous, but yours was no problem.
Monique,
Yeah, there it goes. It just went.
motion carries 7-0. Okay, Johnny has a question.
Yeah, so we did a lot of these, so my question is for, probably mainly for Craig. We don't see the director of transportation on here, is there a different?
We'll do that. We'll do that.
Different one?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
different.
Thank you.
We'll do them come January, February, I can't remember which. I think it's February, so anyway. You're lucky to have these people.
And we are, thank you all for being here, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And to that note, sorry your name wasn't on the list, Rick, so you're moving this year.
It seems weird.
It does,
Seems weird.
Maybe we can take some back.
I don't have any student issues.
No
Nothing.
student issues, see, that's good, see, you don't
That's
have any
good.
student issues there,
Yep.
so.
Time briefing.
Debriefing, good work on the student stuff at the high school, Lee, that's great, I think that'll be well needed.
Thank you. It's had a lot of people voice some different opinions on that, so it's a definitely collective effort.
I'm glad you get to filter them all out.
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm glad you get to filter all those opinions out and bring
Yeah.
them.
Just try to progress forward.
Yeah.
I just want to say I sincerely appreciate all you guys' passion for working at the school district and doing what's best for kids in the district. It's definitely, you can see that through all your guys' individual input on all the data and stuff that I get lost in, but I appreciate you guys diving deep and finding what makes our kids the best they can be.
Thank you.
And I appreciated the meaningful conversation that we had around the results and there's another one about the information you brought for us about students and motivating them to be in the classrooms. I appreciate that. That was a pretty good discussion we had there.
Okay, anything else? Meeting's adjourned.
I want to, December 17th, you're invited to come vote for our door decorations. And we'll have, you can come anytime that day and do that. And I haven't decided if we're going to do electronic or on paper.
Walk around.
You'll just walk around and look at the doors and they'll be numbered and you'll decide on, I haven't decided either if it's like just the top one or your top three or categorize them, but they are, they look really good so far. Some not done yet, but very creative and students have been able to participate as well. So excited to have you come into the school and see it. And so and if you know any other community members that would be interested in doing it as well, then they're more than welcome to come and vote.
Okay. And,
I was gonna ask really quick because that's on Wednesday, the 17th, if there's a home basketball game that night, and so I didn't know if we could walk the
Sure.
halls and vote that night.
I can
Just so then, I don't know that I can get back into town, like,
just get with me and I
Okay.
can walk you around.
because I go to work at 6:30, then to get back
Yeah.
here to, yeah, in the morning.
Again, thank you, Monique, for your time on the board. I know this would be your last meeting, unless we have a special one before that, but, oh, you'll have, you'll bear in you won't bear in anywhere, that's right, see. Anyways, thank you, and again, your plaque is here, so appreciate your time on the board. With that,
Thank you.
with that, the meeting is adjourned.